Okay, so something big is going down in South Asia. We're talking a public accusation, a really shocking phone call, and a whole neighborhood that feels like it's on the brink. Right in the middle of it all, Pakistan. It's suddenly caught in what you could call a geopolitical ring of fire. And believe it or not, it all kicked off with one single, unprecedented move from its neighbor, Iran.
So it all started with an Iranian military operation right on the Pakistan border. Now, look, cross-border skirmishes, they're not exactly new in this part of the world. But this was totally different. For the very first time, Iran didn't just act, they went public with it. They announced it, basically naming and shaming Pakistan on the world stage. This wasn't just a skirmish, this was a message, sent loud and clear.
So what exactly happened here? Well, Iranian forces hit a group of militants in the Rask border region. But the real game changer, almost immediately, Iran's state-affiliated media was all over it. They broadcast all the details, and they explicitly blamed a threat that was coming from inside Pakistan.
You really have to read between the lines here to get what's going on. By publicly tying these militants directly to Pakistan, Iran is doing two things. First off, it's basically shouting from the rooftops that its patience has run out. And second, it's laying the groundwork, building a public case for any future, maybe even bigger action it decides to take.
So who was Iran actually targeting? Well, the name of the group itself is at the very heart of this fascinating, well, let's call it a battle of narratives between the two countries. So in all its official statements, Iran calls the group Jaish al-Zom. That translates to the Army of Injustice. Just by using that name, Iran immediately frames them as the bad guys, a force of tyranny and oppression. It makes their own military actions seem totally righteous, right?
But here's the twist. The group's actual name is Jaish al-Adl, which means the Army of Justice. See the difference? This contrast gets you right to the core of the propaganda war. What one side calls a noble fight for justice, the other labels as pure injustice. It's a pretty powerful reminder that framing is, well, it's everything.
So, who are these guys? Jaish al-Adl. They're a Sunni Islamist group, and their main goal is fighting for the rights of the Sunni minority against Iran's Shia government. But the critical accusation from Tehran, the one that's been thrown around for years, is that this group uses Pakistan's Baluchistan province as a safe haven to launch its attacks, and allegedly they do it with help from the Pakistani state itself.
Now, just as the dust from this public showdown was starting to settle, something else happened. On the very same day, something that seemed totally unrelated, but was actually, as you'll see, deeply connected. It sent shockwaves through the region.
The timing here is just wow. It's everything. So in the morning, Iran launches its strike. By the afternoon, it's publicly pointing the finger at Pakistan. And then just a few hours later, Iran's foreign minister gets on a long phone call with the Taliban's foreign minister in Afghanistan. Coincidence? I mean, come on, highly unlikely.
You have to understand, for years, Pakistan was the go-between. There were the indispensable middlemen for anyone who wanted to talk to the Taliban. This phone call, it completely changes that dynamic. Iran is now talking directly to the Taliban, completely cutting Pakistan out of the loop and, honestly, gutting a huge chunk of its regional influence. To really get why Iran and the Taliban are suddenly buddying up, we need to untangle this really complex web of militant groups in the area. It's easy to get them all mixed up, but stick with me because there's a really key distinction we need to make.
Okay, so on one side, you've got Jaish al-Adl. That's the Islamist group that targets Iran. But on the other side, you have the Balochistan Liberation Army, or BLA. They're a secular nationalist group, and their number one enemy is the Pakistani state. This difference is absolutely critical. Pakistan is actively fighting the BLA, the group that attacks them, while at the same time it's being accused of supporting Jaish al-Adl, the group that attacks its rival, Iran.
And here's where it gets even more complicated. The allegation, and it's a huge one, is that Pakistan's powerful intelligence agency, the ISI, is basically running a kind of proxy factory. They allegedly use the same handlers, the same pool of recruits, to manage different militant groups for different strategic goals. So one group like Jaish al-Adl is pointed at Iran. Another group like ISKP, that's the Islamic State's branch in the region, is aimed at causing trouble for the Taliban in Afghanistan.
And that right there, that's the aha moment. That's the connection that explains that mystery phone call. Both Iran and the Taliban now see a common threat, and they believe it's coming from proxies based in Pakistan. For Iran, the enemy is Jaish al-Adl. For the Taliban, it's ISKP.
In their eyes, they're just fighting different branches of the exact same problem. And that gives them a really powerful reason to work together directly.
All right, let's pull the lens back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. This whole thing isn't just about Iran. Pakistan is facing a really severe diplomatic squeeze from almost every single direction. It's becoming more and more isolated in its own neighborhood.
Just think about it. To the east, you've got India. Relations there are famously hostile. To the west, the relationship with Taliban-run Afghanistan has gone from bad to worse, really fast. And now, the long, tense peace with Iran is tipping over into something openly adversarial. All of a sudden, Pakistan is looking around and realizing it has no friendly borders left.
So what's the common thread in all this? What's the one thing connecting all these frayed relationships? Well, according to its neighbors, the central issue is Pakistan's long-standing policy of using militant proxies as a tool of foreign policy. The argument is that this so-called terrorist factory isn't just a problem for India anymore. Now it's creating instability for Afghanistan and for Iran, and, well, they're starting to push back hard.
So you can see, this is a squeeze coming from multiple fronts. First, there's the diplomatic isolation, basically being surrounded by hostile neighbors. Second, you have this new public and narrative pressure, with countries like Iran refusing to suffer in silence anymore. And third, and this might be the biggest one, is a massive trust deficit. No one in the region seems to trust Pakistan's intentions. Put simply, Pakistan's running out of friends and it's running out of room to maneuver.
And all this leaves us with one really critical question. For a country that has historically been an absolute master at balancing geopolitical interests and playing all sides, finding itself surrounded by hostile neighbors and stripped of its regional leverage, well, this marks a really dangerous new chapter. What Pakistan does next isn't just going to define its own future, it's going to define the future of this entire volatile region.